Uh, Hello, everyone that's watching. This is Dan Lutz. We're attempting to start a broadcast on live on block ta- block blog talk radio. Sorry, and just messing around with how to get these things all going at the same time. I think I'm waiting for Tank to join in. This is the link. Oh, maybe I have to click on this. What do you think? Let's see where it takes us. Hmm. I need to get on the phone and see where we're at with things. I can't hear anything.
Hello.
Hello. Are you on?
I'm about to go on live right at 11:30. Yep.
Well, it's 11:30 for me.
Down now.
That's why I was checking.
Yeah, I'm on now. If you go on, I'll bring you in just a second. Okay. You'll hear the music start in just a second as soon as I go on.
Okay. All right. It looks like he's about ready to join in. Let's see where it executes from. Let's see. So we are broadcasting on YouTube. So thank you all for joining in. I should go take a look and see what is that looking like here. Go back to how do I go with my channel? I gotta get out of Creator Studio here. I heard some music.
Good evening, everybody. This is Tank, and this is our second test run at working with Blog Talk Radio. I'm waiting right now for Dan Lutz to come on board, and we are going to have a little Q&A and give people a chance to talk about their projects and anything else that might be on their minds. From Dan and I were just talking about Marvel comic movies, so we'll see how that goes. And that's basically it. The call-in number, if anybody wants to ask questions, is 646-721-0920. and you can pick us up on the speakproradio.com.
So can you, Tank, can you hear me, Tank?
But it's speakproradio.com. So we have a lot of things to talk about, so bear with me as we get this piece going. I'm just trying to bring Dan in from the Philippines.
Hello.
And
hello.
Sure everyone will be bored of hearing my voice, so I'll make sure to bring more interesting people into the mix so we can do that. And while I work on that, I can tell you about some things.
Hello. Well, I was hearing you.
You can hear me?
I was hearing you, and I'm broadcasting it on YouTube. But I'm not hearing you right now. I actually disconnected. Are you still on?
Well, you can't hear. Well, see, like right now, you just bumped me off the air.
Ah, see? Because you're on your phone? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to hang up. Just if you're on,
But
I should be able to see you.
But you could.
For some reason, I don't see you here.
I followed the link you sent in the email. So
I'm going to send another one to you. It's danlutz@protonmail.com, right?
That's it. Yeah, I got it. You sent it to me. I clicked on it, and I ended up on a page where I have, and then there's a link to follow after that. I don't know which one I'm supposed to be on, but there was no.
Okay, I just sent one to your Telegram. Go to that. I mean, all you have to do is enter your name. You'll be right on.
All right.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Bye.
Blog Talk Radio. Welcome.
Hello. Hello. Well, we're still figuring this out, so if anyone's watching, we're still, I'm not able to seem to connect. I'm trying my handset right now. It's one of those things, you figure out how to get two things to talk at the same time, but I don't seem to be connecting. Not sure if I connect on this. I don't hear anything. Of course, if I call him, then it bumps him off the air. Okay. Well, let's see. I don't know.
I was born and raised in Los Angeles, or I was born and raised in Alaska, and spent the better part of my youth.
I don't know what that noise.
In Los Angeles.
Hello.
Cool.
In
I mean, I'm sorry,
the ghettos of LA. Yeah, no,
yeah,
man.
whereabouts, man? I got friends all over the ghettos in LA. Nothing wrong with that.
No, those are my favorite spots, man. That's where the rent's low and you can make lots of noise. How do the
fried chicken and
Rothschilds...
waffles. My favorite. Sorry, go ahead.
Man, think about this for a second, Hank. How do the Rothschilds, if they were nobodies, but real creative, how are these clowns got the most of this bloodline when they were nobody? Now, wouldn't somebody with that bloodline always be somebody?
Well, first of all,
if they're so connected as humans.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
If they're so connected as humans to this, if they're so connected as humans to this, whatever we want to call it, Anunnaki bloodline or this typo negative or whatever it is that they have the most of, how is it that they were just common paupers that got this money from the Chinese elders, which the Chinese elders are supposed to be Rothschilds, from what we can all gather? No one's ever seen a Chinese elder, right? Am I making myself clear?
Yeah, you're very clear. You're very clear. Okay. So first of all, I like the way Kim calls it, right? First of all, hey Dan, your mic's on, man. If you want to chime in on this.
Okay? Oh, you can hear me?
Oh, hey, I'm on speakerphone. Does that bother you guys? I'm on speakerphone.
No, you're fine.
Is everything cool? Okay.
Yeah, everything's cool.
So are you hearing me better?
Check to make sure Dan is in because I want to make. I just pulled him in, but yeah.
Are you hearing
Dan,
me?
you're live. You're
Hello. Hello.
There. I don't know if.
Hello.
I made you live, but anyways.
Hello.
Okay, man. So first of all, I like the way Kim. She refers to the Rothschilds as the rotten children, right? Now, the reason why that they were told they were bloodline because they were used as breeders, right? And somewhere in this, Thomas breaks this stuff down. There's parents, right? And they would breed with the different humans. They would create a bloodline, right? It's not like they were this royal, omnipotent bloodline, right? They made a draconian bloodline, right? So that is how that happened. Yeah. That's what made it. And it wasn't because they were the brightest or the most creative or any of that stuff. It's because they're the most subservient, right? They'll do whatever they're told, right? And then they just kept breeding that into them because that's what was designed. You have different levels. You have royal draconians, right, which are, I guess, your innovators kind of thing. And then you have your kind of soldier class, right, that are part of that structure. Now they're part of that structure. They follow orders. And they were given enough, they were trained in certain skills. And to be honest, man, I mean, we're not so different as people. Intelligence is not something that is, always quantifiable. Everybody has different gifts, and these things can be developed and expanded on. But if you're trained a certain way, and then you're told you're exceptional, and told you're the chosen ones, and told that you're the bloodline, you are better than everyone else because you are from the, draconian Anunnaki King Jabba the Hutt bloodline. You think, you grow up thinking you're entitled to this, right? So you can do these things. And then on top of that,
and you've been and you've been trained in all these noble arts, so you really are badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
To the average human that doesn't have the esoteric knowledge or any of this, mystery school, whatever we want to call it, teaching, you would excel way faster than the clumsy human.
Right.
It's been denied all the information, right? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right. It's just a matter of knowing it, right? Like, imagine what's possible if you were trained from birth. I mean, all of our perceptions about reality come from the limits that our family puts on us as they're bringing us up. Now, if you were raised from birth to know that you were, a natural creator that could do anything just by the way that you spend your thoughts and think about it, and the way that you put your energy into it. You learn to control your emotional energy and understand how to connect that with the way you feel and what you're thinking about. Now, when you can do that, you realize you can manifest things in reality.
Yes, and our whole program through school, through the foods, through the fluorides, everything, and we've been taught, no, you can't do that. So obviously, a human that's been taught you can do that is going to excel right through this stuff because there's no.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold, and you will be able to listen to the show.
But I don't have a great way of explaining. Okay, another thing, and I'm kind of at a loss for words. You're really needed. This is a real number and get through to you anybody. I'm not. I don't do social media or any of that stuff, so I'm kind of disconnected.
Hey, Mark, let me just, Mark, 1 second, buddy. Hey, Dan, are you live?
I don't know. Am I live? Hello?
Yep, you're live. All right.
Okay.
Figured it out. Yep, you're here, Dan. Okay. All right, Mark, go ahead with your question. I just want to make sure Dan can chime in. Go ahead, Mark.
I could hear everything you were saying, so I was following along.
Okay, I want to thank you personally too. You're very valuable in this movement because I just go by vibe and I'm feeling you guys and I really appreciate you too, Dan.
Well, thank you.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, the only thing that I could think of is this. At first I was like, okay, now you got to look. Thomas came from Drake. Now, Drake, I'd like to put him in a chokehold and just put his ass to sleep. It's just so much dribble over this time, and
Mark, how do you really feel? Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I got a kind of dry sense of humor.
You're fun. You're funny. Keep going, man. You're great.
There's some truth in it, but that guy, we got to see here that Thomas came through there. Now, like I said, I really feel Thomas. I want to believe Thomas, and I've done my due diligence. And let me tell you, from what I've gleaned in my 35 years of going down this hole, the control system. When I set out, when I was maybe 19, I knew something wasn't right from childhood. And it just like, it's the splinter in the mind that just won't let you stop. And I just wasn't having any of these lies. I didn't believe any of it from the very get-go. And I set out to expose the control system. I want to know, what is this? And at first I went after money. I tried to figure out money as a kid. And I went into all their legalese and all their pig Latin and all their, all the... Can I swear? I don't need to.
We try not to.
It's kind of one of my
we have a mother's.
Too. All right, I won't let it slip. because I respect that. So when I went into this money, and I'd set it down a few times, and I've made good money. I've lived in mansions. I've lived in cars. I've done it all. I could never break the understanding of this money. And we know why now. It's all wrapped up in legalese. It's why we don't understand the law, why we don't understand anything, right?
Yeah, well, nothing matters if you don't enforce it, right?
The control system that was revealed by Thomas really put together everything that I already knew and sections that I found, and to see it laid out like that, I have set it all down, man. I've closed all my YouTube accounts. I don't care much. I listen to you guys, I listen to Thomas, because I want to see where this goes. But I set out, and I'm satisfied with what I know about the control system. And I thank Kim, Thomas, Shane, however this came together. And I believe in the authenticity of it, of what I'm looking at, through what my 35 plus years have told me. But, again, Thomas comes from Drake. Drake's an idiot. We know Drake's a sellout. So, and that explodes. Just like all these little pair-ups explode. And we've seen this play out a lot of times with Drake himself. Because I've been keeping an eye on this whole movement and a wide variety of it. So I'm a little suspicious, but I got to keep, because my heart says, okay, this guy's sincere. Then I'm thinking, okay, Thomas was infiltrated. Thomas was infiltrated by Kim. Kim is a faction. She comes from faction. She's part of the banking. Now, I'm not saying I don't feel her intentions are pure, but I thought that's the way for her faction to get into this movement. We know the alternative movement is totally taken over. Am I talking too much?
No, man, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay, we know the alternative movement is totally taken over. So that's a nice way to bring Thomas in, this Brit. Love the British voice, right? And I love his demeanor, and he explains things well. I love you, Thomas, if you're listening, but easy way to get in. Throw a little hassle between them, and they're like another cosmic voice that breaks off. He goes into his own group, and now we got this faction known as Kim. No matter what I feel about if it's true or not, somebody's got to be looking at this. Just like all the other Dinar Chronicles and all the other bullshit, the big lie with Bruce. There's so many of them and it's all just ridiculous. And really, this it could feel like another one.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you about that. So, I understand what you're saying. When you talk about this, because there is a faction war taking place, right? So if you look at the faction war, it appears to be there's everyone's fighting for who gets to be in control. And at the end of the day, there's actually, the factions are actually a lower level that exists.
Oh, I know.
From the
That's
Rothschilds,
just
right?
what we're seeing play out. Yeah.
Right. But as far as what you're saying, like, I do understand why you're saying that. Okay. So now, Kim was not raised with the cabal training, the deep state, the Illuminati training that you hear about, that Shane talks about, right? She wasn't raised in that system. She was raised in Southie in Boston. That's the first thing. Second thing is, so at the very highest level, the way it worked is that there was contracts in place. Now, when the contracts expired, the way the system was designed was that in 2012, when the one who had the most human DNA on the planet was of age, when she turned 40 years old, so, in September, she turned 40 years old in 2012, and she was then, from that point on, the system only recognized her DNA. Now, as far as from that point on, she was approached by the secret leadership of the world, right? And this is far above the secret societies, levels and levels and levels above that, right? And from that point, there's an actual hierarchy that existed on the planet where ownership of the assets belonged to the one person at the top who controlled the system. So it's really above the factions, right? It's really the sole monarch on the planet. Now, because there was a sole monarch, there was contractual agreements in place that humanity agreed to, right? Because our silence was our consent. And not that we repeatedly agreed to these things. And that's why things kept getting worse. But the reality is our reality of what we were living in kept changing, and we kept getting further and further away from who we really were. So at the end of the day, how else would you take over the system if there's always all of these secret factions you don't even know exist above you? So the way Kim described it to me was this, is that she's at the top coming down, and we're at the bottom coming up. And the only wall in between us was, all of this nonsense created by the dragon families, right? So when I see it, man, I see the top of the pyramid, and finally the top of the pyramid, where you have the all-seeing eye, right, is finally occupied by someone who's advocating for humankind to be the actual caretakers, the ones responsible for the planet, the ones who have the rightful authority to be the inhabitants of the planet. And so what she did was she went out and all of the various galactics, right, that were also enslaved here, she approached all of them and made peace with them, right? And she went out to all of those different galactic groups and told them, look, I know that you were enslaved by them. Things are different now, and I want to make peace so that we can correct all this, right? And she went out and by doing that, by making these changes, and then in turn, she confronted them and basically took out the leadership who had been there, because everyone at that top level, they were really, all of them except for the three at the top were all slaves. They were all part of the same group, and they all thought they were special, and they thought it was okay.
I don't see, No, I don't see how Kim has access. I don't see, and when we say Trump, let's say Trump faction, who's ever controlling Trump, Kim, it's not Kim, it's Kim faction, right? It's a group. It is a group that we don't really know who that is. How does Kim single-handedly? I mean, how do you do that, Tank? How can you reach out? How can you get beyond all these firewalls as some girl?
As some girl?
Yeah. Well, no. That's what I'm saying. It's the faction, right? This is a powerful group, or this one girl that we call Kim. No disrespect.
I can tell you, I can tell you that Kim is, as far as to define groups vying for control, so to speak, Kim doesn't even want control. What she's trying to do is give you the power back.
Yeah, I understand that part. How does it? How does a person single-handedly have access to all these groups and stuff? How do you? I mean, these aren't just people you can call up. You don't look these people up and just call them up and say, "Hi, I'm my name's Kim. Let me drop this on you." The history of the planet.
Kim spent 2 years learning to access the system, being trained by these people who, at that time, she just thought were her boss. So she was given everything she needed to know where everyone was. Now, not only that, but the quantum system is a quantum mapping system that maps everything on the planet. So there's no one that's really out of her reach.
And that's kind of hearsay too. We have no way of really proving any of that. What do any of us know about the quantum system?
No, that's not true. That's not true. I've been on several phone calls where I've watched her literally pull information out of seemingly nowhere on every single person we've ever talked to. And I've been on dozens of phone calls with her, with people that have reached out to me to get to her, that are very different leaders from different governments, people who claim they have access to the trust, all types of various factions represented by the Chinese elders, lawyers, and so that's
I wasn't aware of that.
What's true is I do have direct access. Yeah.
Wait a minute. I wasn't aware of that. Okay, no, I wasn't aware of that. That you have had personal. Okay, that's different. Because everybody's talking quantum financial system, and in support of it, I will say that all these co-opted channels that are talking all this smack, they do parrot THI's information. PHI will put a show out, and then Drake's running his mouth the next week with some nonsense, a spin on what Thomas is saying. So I find it very interesting to keep tabs on a lot of these clowns and what they're saying. It's very time consuming, but it fascinates me.
No, and you're right about that. I watch it too. First of all, there is no quantum financial system. There is a quantum system that is a quantum mapping system, which maps everything on the planet. They call it a quantum financial system, and when they refer to that, they're always referring to, one of their various hacking systems, like the Babylon system or the Hercules system.
Right.
And I talked to those people too, because I worked directly with the people from the GCR who were employed and authorized by OMB, and they were set to become generals for the United Nations, and they offered me that role to become a general for the United Nations. And they told me I could be over all this, right? They put that offer out there. And that was the same time I started talking to Kim. And when I introduced Kim, they got scared off and, ran away. But before they did, I got the very solid, the actual Singleton document that I posted on the Speak Project, which actually shows the plan as far as the GCR goes and the way that every country in the world signed off on. And in that document, you'll see reference to the King of Kings. And they say that the King of Kings has the absolute authority over all matters. And they all accepted that, every country in the world, because they all knew there was a great dictator over everything. And that great dictator ran things for a long time. So I'm big on this, man. I understand where you're coming from. I'm big on...
No, and I got to backtrack. Go ahead. I'm sorry. There's a little time delay between us.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm big on making sure that the things I'm talking about are things I have either personally experienced or I can prove and at least point to something to give you some piece of evidence so you realize this is not just some, fairy tale. I don't do intel as far as, projected intel. What I'm giving you is the exact facts as I know them. And sometimes there's more to the story, but the things I'm telling you are true.
Okay, and I'm no spring chicken, okay? I'm an old man. I've been looking at this for a long time. I've looked hard and deep, high and low, and I have my own opinions and body of knowledge that I'm bringing into this. And I really haven't met anybody on this level as far as... Now, I can't speak it as well as I know it in my head, but I'm going to have to dig back. I just came across you and Dan recently, so I got to dig back into some of your stuff. I got to take a look at that. And I still haven't. I went searching for when Mnuchin or one of those guys, Thomas, made a reference to something that he was saying that he mispronounced Kim's name, but basically said that she was blocking funds and all this. And I haven't been able to come across that information like in print either. So I got a little homework to do, but
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, look, I know you have some experience in this, so you know. A lot of stuff that, I'm big on this. I recommend everybody screenshot everything. Screenshot everything because they will go and change it. I mean, today they changed it.
Oh, yeah, no, I've learned, man. Oh, no, I've learned. I'm an experiencer. I'm a targeted individual. Black helicopters, black holes, you name it, man. Gaslighting. I've seen it all, man. Google accounts with just... I've seen stuff that I can't even explain in the invisible, man. So I've had it all coming at me. Yeah.
Hey, Mark.
And
Mark, hang out for a minute. Let me bring this other caller on too. So let's see if they have questions more.
No, bring him on, man. Thank you so much, man. I'm gonna. If I think of something else, I'll be back.
Cool in the game, man. Appreciate it. Nice talking.
All right.
Yeah, good conversation.
All right, Dan.
Hey.
Well,
I get what he's saying, when you're coming at it with all this different information all over the place. I got it in sequences, right? But ended up in looking into the GCR, into historical bonds, end up in Swiss Indo, learn about OMD, go to China, So I got it in chunks, and all along the way, everyone was saying that here's the one, this is the one, this is the M1. They can bring the assets and turn it into currency. But it wasn't until Kim did it that I had any way of knowing that there was something at least happening in this direction. So it's confusing out there, and I've never followed Drake or any of that. So I mean I've heard it along the way, but for me, anything they've said, I have no idea. I was just looking at it completely from the people that I was interfacing with, the people that were actually doing things. So I get why it's confusing. It's always
listen. I do too. It's a challenge. All this stuff. For me, if I wasn't involved firsthand with a lot of these conversations, I've been on the phone with Kim and watched her. I've watched people they're scared when they start talking to her, right? Because she really does hold this authority, and anybody who's really in the know, they know that too. And there are certain events that they know, where she's the only one that walked away. And anybody who's a mercenary at this point, I would have to believe they all know that everybody that goes up there doesn't come back. So, she does hold and yield a certain level of power that is not common, by any means. Well, let me just check, see if this caller's on the line. 561, are you on the line? Anybody? There? Guess not. Hang on one second. I'll bring this other person on. All right.
Hello?
770. Hello?
Hello?
Hi. This is Tank.
Hold on just
How can I help you?
Let me see.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Fine, go ahead.
And I'm from Georgia, and I love you guys.
Thanks,
And
brother. Appreciate that.
And I have to say one thing. I was a little bit pissed off when he said Kim was just a girl. I gotta say that.
Well, it's funny because he was pretty sharp, and I thought, wow, one of the things they'll do is they'll send strong personalities around sometimes that have a real strong voice and allow them to come in and plant doubt and create fear.
Yeah.
Not to say that's what he was, but I'm always watching for those kind of things. So believe me, Kim is by no means just anything, but certainly I would never put the word "just" in front of a girl. So
absolutely,
but Brandon,
absolutely. I wanted to ask, first of all, how did y'all meet? Because I just started listening to Thomas about 2 months ago, and I'm trying to catch up with everything. And then I just started listening to Dank about a week ago. So
well, thanks for joining us.
Up there. So I think you both are great, and I just really like you.
Dan and I met in a self-help group for My Strange Addiction. And I'm just kidding. That's not really true. No.
Well, you mean the addiction to the Tomorrow game?
Yeah, the addiction to the Tomorrow game, exactly. Addiction to change the world, yeah. Dan reached out to me. I'm not sure. Dan, I forget. I know you reached out to me on the Speak Project.
You posted a blog. I'd signed up for the blog on speakproject.net, and then I just kept tabs on it. And then one day you posted a blog, and your phone number was at the bottom, and I just called it. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And you said, "Oh, really? I put my phone number there."
You guys decide to do that together? It was just about the GCR. Then did I say it right? GCR.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Global Currency. I'm sorry, I got to think it through my head. So you just wanted to explain that whole thing, and then you just kept going, which we appreciate.
Well, we Dan has a little more experience, doing broadcasts and YouTube and stuff, and it's something I've tried to do. I've done a little bit, and I was starting to put out some videos and things like that with the help of my team from Create Change and the Speak Project, and so Dan gave me an opportunity to talk about things live. I'd rather talk about things live. I'd also rather not be the only voice speaking. So it's nice to talk to somebody who has, a diverse background and a vast understanding on a lot of topics because, I have a pretty good understanding on some stuff. So that's kind of how it worked out. We just decided to do this, and then
you're good.
I think our conviction
really
has grown over time.
I
thank you. We appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
And if I did last night. I did join to go Camelot, and I'm really excited. I have an idea. I'm an artist too, but a new artist. If you can believe I'm 57, and I just started doing mosaic art 2 years ago, and was a math and science gal. Had my own business for years and years, and who knew you could become an artist, right?
Good for you. I love that. I think that's such a great time. I mean, it's great when you can really focus on, anybody can be an artist, And I think it's a great way to express yourself.
Yeah. But the one thing that I want to do is and that's why I joined the Go Camelot is I just want to go to nursing homes. They call it rehab now, but it's still a nursing home, and maybe just show people about art, and so that they can get out, they can enjoy life. I want to do it with young kids, and I want to do it with in nursing homes, and then I was, because of one of the shows you did recently, I started thinking about that. I don't know if they would ever be interested, but that's what I want to do. So I want to do a project for them. So I'm really excited. What do you think?
So I have a great story. About that. I totally support it. About 7 years ago now, I started. No, I guess it was about 6 years ago. My sons were 6 years old, and I started a little company because I wanted to give them a way to contribute. To appreciate how good their life is. So now I'm a sculptor and also a painter and do a lot of media and
amazing.
Stuff.
You are an amazing artist. You are.
I am an average artist, but I like it. So so what I did was I decided with my son, I started this little company, a little nonprofit called Hero Complex Creations, and basically the idea was to take comic books, right, and kind of patch them into.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
What happened? What happened? Well, I don't know what actually just happened. It was running, and now it just stopped. So let's see if I can log back in. Let's see. How do I get back there? Let's go from the link and see what happens. I don't know. I am bounced. Can't connect. No, take me there.
a little bit pissed off when
Dan got bumped off as well.
I did.
All right.
Click the button to download.
1 second.
Hello?
Folks.
Hello? Can
All
you
right.
hear me?
So if anybody has something they want to talk about, now is a good time to call in because I just cleared out these lines. I'm going to go back to Mark's. I feel like Mark's going to have a whole bunch to say. Hang on 1 second. Oh, wait. Here, we got somebody else. 1 second. Hello, this is Tank 715. What's going on?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
I can. Go ahead.
You guys hearing me? Oh yeah. This
We
is
hear you.
Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you will be able to listen to the show.
Get to the reality of what's happening.
Hello?
Yeah, I mean, if we were so insignificant, why would they go through all the trouble of putting so many levels of control and manipulation and deception in? So that must mean there's something special to us, so they wouldn't go through all the trouble to try and control us to that, to that level. They put an awful lot of effort into it.
Yes, they certainly have put a lot of effort into, suppressing us in any way they can.
Seems like every avenue you turn down, there's the gatekeeper there, pay at the window or something, it just seems there's got to be an end to it at some point. We would hope.
Well, look, it all comes down to us, right? I mean, that's the call to action all of us got to really look at and embrace it. We're in this transitional moment in history. It's not just fancy talk. The reality is
it's real.
We're all being called to put ourselves on the line, right? Because if you are not free, what do you really? You can't decide anything about your own life. You can't do anything. You can't set a foundation for your family. You can't. You are nothing more than you're like a robot, right? Because your history, your future, your present, it's all set, right? You're going to do what you're told. So that is why we're fighting so hard for liberation. We want to be free. Now, for a lot of us, we're so used to a set path that we've been on, and we think, well, I go to school, right? I graduate high school, then I go to college, then I get a job, then I do my best to excel and get promoted in that job. I put away money for retirement. I retire, then I die, right? That's our life, right? In the mix of that, we get married, we have kids, right? We have grandkids, and we're feeble by the time we're 85 years old, right? And that's basically the path that has been laid out for us. And if you realize, wait a minute, now you're supposed to live to be 900 years old, right? Now you had 900 years. Imagine what you could do. Now you certainly couldn't do it if you were this decrepit old man. So you got to realize that we can be vital and virile and strong and healthy at any age. And by the time we get to be in our 900s, we'll just will ourselves out of the body because it's time to move on. Now that's the reality. That means we've got to regenerate, we got to revitalize, we got to change the course that we're on. Now the biggest reason why we have this problem is because everything's toxic. They're poisoning us in the air, the food, the water, the media. So we got to get away from all those things. Now, it's an easy fix. I mean, it really is. I know we want to make it complicated, right? But think about it. This is how easy it really is. And this is where the part gets frustrating to me, right? Like, for example, I know that to do a transfer from the system, it takes seconds. We can bring in $1 trillion in seconds. There's no download time. It's literally from one ledger to another ledger. It takes seconds. Now, that means at some point it gets down to one person in the way. Always. Every single time there's
one of them
person
remnant
at the terminal. Right. Now that one person at the terminal, listen, wherever you are today, please abort. Whatever path you're on to mess things up, to follow orders from people that want you dead, who don't value your opinion, who don't care about you, who don't love you. Look, why go that route? We love you. We want to support you. We want you to be successful. We want you to be free too. Just make a better decision. That's how simple it is. All of the fate of the freedom of humanity is on your shoulders. Make a better decision, right?
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jacob. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I think everybody got kind of anticipated this power vacuum that was going to happen here, that we're kind of in, that there was going to be a struggle for, sort of a new control system or a new system. But really, I agree with you when you're saying there's only one way this can go, and the true spirit, the spark of the true family of man and women is really the only thing that plugs in here. There is no other thing that will work at this point because, the land and the elements are witness to what this is. The manner that the Fiji Islanders picked up. This is really the only thing that can really happen that's viable that I can see is the true spark of humanity has to be inserted here into action to call the service. That's the only thing that's going to work that I can see. I agree with you when you said that earlier. That's the only thing I see that's viable.
I agree. Look, where we're at, there is one option. I mean, you are with us or against us. And when I talk about us, I'm just one of the many voices I'm sure who will stand up at some point. But there's not many of us right now who are really advocating for humanity. A lot of people have made this a full-time job, and they're out there making a living at it. So what do? They put out controlled intel, right? So they're putting out information. I'll tell you right now, I don't care who it is. If you are not talking about Kim, and you are not talking about the man of World Golden Trust, you are not sharing anything of value.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's not. People have tried to accuse me of just being like now I'm just Kim Shill. Listen, what I am is I'm an ambassador for the truth. I don't care what. If Kim didn't have it, I'd be talking about whoever did. Because at the end of the day,
they forget the fact that it's a result of you putting in years and years of research and effort and energy to get to the point where you found something that resonated, that was true. We all look for that. When it comes along, if you've done your work, you're going to recognize it. You're going to know that's it. And that's what caught my attention. When I started hearing about your group and through Thomas and other people I've listened to. You realize the spirit of it when you hear it, see it, feel it. And, that's it. It's hard to deny it.
Yeah,
I don't know why
Thomas,
yeah, he did a good turn there by starting his own thing back a few years back.
Yeah,
that was.
Thomas has forgotten more. He's forgotten more than most people will ever know. I mean, that guy has got. I mean, he's just got such a bank of knowledge. And I appreciate all those things. I am much more into the simplified explanation of things to make it real for people on all levels. I think the transition is very, very important for all of us, and I think it's important for us to embrace that. As a human being, you are naturally disposed to becoming a teacher, right? Because this is how we pass things down. We tell stories to our kids so they know where they came from, right? We tell stories to explain things and help people understand what has happened in their life, right? And this is an oral tradition that goes on, right?
So campfire, firelight, oral tradition,
Hey, Tank, I'm back. Can you hear me?
So it's really important. Oh, Dan, you on?
Yeah. I got bumped off, and I came back on, but I had to come back on as Dan Lutz too. You didn't know I was there, so I logged in under the host tools, right? And I unmuted myself.
Oh, cool.
I figured my way back here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Awesome.
Dan, you're really wrestling the controls out of that system.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you gotta just juggle. That's it. I mean,
just dive into it.
Yeah. So I've got.
Yeah, but I really appreciate the work. Appreciate the work you guys are doing. I don't want to tie up your line here, but to let you guys know, there's a lot of ears and eyes out here, and it's a difficult blockade to get through the the blinders on people and the programs that they're laden with. But I see some hope in it. People don't look at me quite as crazy as used to when I try to speak about some of these things, but eventually maybe they'll come.
You know what? I'll tell you what. It's all the shingles are falling off people's eyes. So it's not difficult. It's not difficult. But the only thing it takes, be consistent, be kind. When you speak to people, tell the truth, and make sure what you say is necessary. Because that's all people need to hear. Just give them a little piece. Remember, give them one thing they'll never forget, instead of trying to give them a whole lot of things they'll never remember. All right?
I tell my
man, I appreciate you calling in.
Okay. It's about the heart, not the mind so much,
Hey, in my world, the heart and mind are side by side in one group. So,
a native friend of mine said the longest journey a man will ever take, he took his hand from his head down his heart, is from here to here. You know the right there. But once you complete that journey, then things start happening. Okay, carry on, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night, man. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring on 205 then.
Sure. Well, you know what? It was very funny that just literally the software just stopped, and it wouldn't let me log back in. So it took some.
Well, I mean, it's good that you can even get on though. That's good.
Yeah.
205, are you there?
Please.
205, are you there? Hello?
Hello.
205?
I'm not 205.
Hey, did I get in the queue?
You're in the queue. You're on the air.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Live,
know that. I was just listening to the show, but I'm enjoying myself. This is my first time listening to you guys.
Well, awesome.
Oh, cool, man. Well,
How's it going with you
I
all?
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Great,
I'm
man.
just good. I'm just laying back and listening to the show. This is my first time, and I was just enjoying hearing you guys go back and forth. I'll be tuning in more often now since I found you guys on the
All right.
internet.
Cool. Man, I appreciate it. Keep on listening. We'll try to make sure we bring value. Talk to you later.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Yes, this works pretty well, Dan, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
If I don't lose you, that is.
No, I'm here. It when it disconnected me, it said goodbye. I said, okay. It's like I didn't know why. I thought maybe the broadcast was over, and so then I went and checked and said, no, it's still rolling.
Well, I was trying to talk to you. I was like, wait a minute, what happened? I guess I got to make sure I keep you engaged so I don't lose you.
I
Yeah,
definitely was
I
some
think
kind of software glitch, or it could have been the clowns.
So we can broadcast this on YouTube at the same time or no?
Yeah, we're on YouTube as well. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Wow, here we go.
There's
Crossing
40 people over there. Let me go check and see. There's still 40. 46 people over there, and we've got the super chat over there going as well.
Ah, cool. Yeah, I have a chat on here too. I didn't, I keep launching it and it keeps shutting down on me, so I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but I should probably stay in one place. So
yeah, a lot of this is just learning the
really
software. Because when I first got on, I didn't know I'm supposed to put my name over there. I'm looking at this thing on the right hand side, but on the left hand side there's a place to put your name, and then once I do that and I'm on, then you have to unmute me. So it took a while just to know that.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, I had you. You were on, and I could see you on the first time. I unmuted you, but you weren't actually there. The second time you were there, so it works out.
That's all right.
So,
Next time, much
I
smoother.
think
Next
it's really
time.
interesting. I think it's really interesting that what that gentleman Mark had to say. Because that perception, I think, is very common. That people think Kim is just another faction of some kind, right?
Well, it's just a girl, right? And I flash back to high school and thinking there's that music, that song that went, she's just the girl you want. Dun 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 dun. Just the girl you want.
I was thinking about a different song, a little more modern, called "I'm Just a Girl," but
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, but I feel you.
All right.
But yeah, man. So but it's fascinating. I look at how they have to tell the story, right, in the movies. So you look at Jupiter Ascending. Now, Jupiter Ascending is nailing it, right? I mean, it's talking about the harvest, right? That's real. It's talking about, I forget what the name of the Draconians are, right? But that's a real family of Draconians that really exists, and does those things. That's real.
Right, and they have the ones that are really like with wings and looks like a dragon type, but they were subservient to the humanoid-looking rulers.
Right, and Kim has told me that is accurate. The soldiers do look like that, and that the other ones are. I believe they're like shapeshifters, or they hold that shape for most of the time, or something. I'm not sure exactly how that stuff works, but she did confirm that. So, and
I think when we were talking earlier on the phone, we were talking about Hellboy, the current version of current movie out there. Have you seen it yet?
No, not the new one.
Yeah, the new one. Yeah, so there's definitely, they're dropping some information in there as well to highlight where about the Nazis and how they've infiltrated all the levels. It's like just there's so much in there. But we were also talking about Avengers and Thanos, and and what's coming out in just a couple of days. It's again, they're revealing information about galactic wars, so they're dropping these clues, and Marvel, I think, is a very big part of their agenda to put out information into there.
Well, you know the movie Unbreakable, I think it's called, right, with Bruce Willis, and I mean that idea by M. Night Shyamalan is brilliant, right? And I totally agree. I think that it's fact that this idea that comic books are like hieroglyphics, right? They're telling the story. Because look at the incredible movies that have come out. I mean, I remember in 7th grade when the first Batman came out with Michael Keaton.
Oh yeah.
It was like revolutionary because there's never been a movie like that came out.
Right.
But since then, my goodness, it's amazing. These movies are the best movies out there. They're exciting and thrilling, and these I think they all reflect something. I think they reflect a lot of things very accurately, and some of them on a deeper level. Like Thanos, think about what he's doing. He's going after these stones. Well, these stones they're symbolic, right, of the chakra, right? Like he's grabbing up the human soul, the power of the human soul.
Right.
Right. So he's
time,
gathering them to himself.
The time crystal.
Yeah.
All of these different ones. I can go through my projection of what I think they're going to do in this and how it's going to come out, and it's my guess at how they're going to resolve this movie. Is to have.
By the way, Dan was telling me this earlier and cut me off so we could talk about it on the air. So I'm dying to hear what it is. So go ahead.
I said, let's not talk about this now. It'll be too good to. So to recap on the first Avenger, where we have Thanos there, he's gathering up all these stones, power stones, and and they tie in Guardians of the Galaxy, right, as well as that they come into this these stones are going to allow him ultimate control over everything. It basically makes him God, right? And what his intention is, because of he thinks the universe is overpopulated, and because of overpopulation, there's not enough goods and not enough of items for people, so it causes war. So he's going to end it by eliminating half of all the people. So that's.
Now wait, let me interject here.
Okay.
Now, not only that, but this is what his species has always done. They take over planets, they kill off 50% of everything, so that the planet itself maintains optimal, optimal health. This is their theory, and then they implement their order, right? Which is what we're dealing with now.
Right, and what we're doing in reality is that they're trying to do that, but not 50%.
Right.
90%.
Right. Right.
All right. So he's fighting to get all of these crystals, and he finally does it. He finally gets the very last one, and then he just wipes out half of everyone. Everyone just starts disappearing, and so all of half of the superheroes are gone, right? And so, but along the way, he had to get the time crystal away from Doctor Strange. And I think this is where the resolution comes about. I think that Doctor Strange created kind of an alternative reality, an alternative timeline or whatever, because he had the time crystal, and he went through many hundreds and hundreds of versions because he could go through time where Thanos doesn't win, and he only found one that did win, and he turns over the crystal to him. I think he actually created an illusion, or an alternative reality illusion, that for Thanos to play out his role in that. And so when he entered it, when he was dealing with Doctor, that's my theory. I have no idea if I'm correct, but I'm sticking with it until I see the movie in a couple of days.
Well, I think that is very, very plausible, because if I were to look at it to reflect real life, you kind of have what we've played out here, right? You had all these catastrophic timelines that would have played, that everyone, that's why whenever you hear people talk about, this perspective from, these very skilled individuals, Corey Good, Will Cox, and all these different guys who, they have experience with these fourth dimensional beings, they all believe it's a catastrophic timeline to this day. They all think they have absolute control. There's no way to change it, right? So it's really the only one that exists where there is a way to change it. The only method is the one we're on now. And that's only because a human took control and was given the choice, right? And this is the ultimate expression of free will. And in this free will, all of us were included. It's kind of one human body.
And she's just
we're
a girl.
Given the option to start over. Just a girl. I'll tell you what, Kim would have something to say about that. But she does know. Kim is so crazy smart, right? She knows how these kind of the traditional male role model has been created, right? This kind of warmongering, caveman that they want to portray us as, and she would be on calls, and she understood that she would let other people kind of dominate the conversation. Meanwhile, there's very little you can tell her that she doesn't know because she knows it from a much higher perspective, right? And so she would very humbly listen to them, and then she'd come back and kind of add to their story, right? And it was like, I watched her do it so many times. It's really incredible. But she was given the choice, right? They told her she could make a brand new world, right? And they basically made it seem like there was no other choice but this catastrophic timeline too. And she saw it, and she chose humanity above all others, right? I mean, that is like scripture. I mean, that's something that should go down in history,
right?
Because one woman made a choice for humanity above everybody else. That the best thing for humanity, for the race, was to save the people. And she would never allow you to call her a savior, because she'll always say, no, you can't put that on her. You're going to have to save yourself, right? Because even when the money comes in, we're not saved. Because from that point on, it's what do we do with it, right? What's the next step?
We have to save ourselves, right? And we all have to pitch in to work with one another. And Kim's just doing her part.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's just a girl.
Doing her part.
Doing her part.
Just a girl.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, so that's
what?
Go ahead.
That's your theory.
That's the basic part of the theory. But I think that there's the stories that they're trying to tell us, these lessons that the Cabal wants us to learn are in through these Marvel films, and they're using this as the delivery mechanism, right? Part of this is also transhumanism is very much part of this these series, and getting superpowers, right? Make a deal with the devil, so to speak, right? So you can have superpowers, live a long time. All right, but would you actually want to live the life that they end up presenting you? Like one of the even we can go to the DC comics and you talk about Batman, right? So we have a whole series there where we had I forgot what the cyborg guy, right? He was being converted by this mother box, right? He got infected by the mother box. His father tried to heal him with it, and it ended up, taking him over. So it's some sort of AI in itself, some sort of, technology, nanotechnology, taking over his body. So again, all of these things are being laid out for us, so that we can have a choice to make. Right? Hey, become a cyborg. The working hours are long, but you get to live double your lifespan.
Right. Yep.
You get super.
No, that is true.
I mean, if they said to a lot of people right now, if they said, "Listen, you got free Wi-Fi right now. You just take this chip, and by the way, you can do Google searches. Just by thinking about it." How many people would take it?
Yep.
How you go to a website in your head?
Oh,
you know, who
No, they're already pumping. They're already pumping that agenda now. You
I
see it
know,
all
I
the
know.
time, you know.
Listen. I'm just drawing the rest of the bridge, rest of the way to where they're trying to take us here. So because this is going to be offered very soon, where you can just have all the knowledge, right? You know,
Right.
And it's free.
Right, all the knowledge, and then you can tap into superpowers instantaneously by basically giving over your consciousness to something outside yourself. That's basically what they want you to do.
Right. So
But the secret is this.
Yeah.
The secret is you are already a superhero. You can already do these things. When I was one of the very first conversations I ever had with Kim, because Kim is, she is very practical and spiritually connected all at the same time, right? Which I value. And she was talking about, the source energy, the God particle. It's all around us all the time. Everything's made up of. And she taught me how to look to see it, right? And then how to draw that particle into your body, right? And she explained how that's really when people talk about raising their frequency or lowering their frequency, that's what it is. The greater concentration of this particle you have in your body, the higher your frequency is, and the lower it is, right? And she explained to me how you can use that, right, to learn languages, right? You just align with the frequency of the language. You can learn the language. How you can, communicate telepathically with it. You can use it as a lie detector, right, where you just align yourself with that frequency, and you can tell if somebody's lying or not. and I always ask her to download Kung Fu on me, right, from the quantum system. I want like the Matrix.
Like in the Matrix, yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I'm like, you can always download Kung Fu on me. I'm just saying. But one of the other things I asked her about was, can we fly? She's like, yeah, you can fly. You just have to understand. You just have to master it, right? And everything comes down to self-mastery. So you already have these abilities. You are the device that can access all these things, right? So we don't need anything to enhance us, that's outside of ourselves. What we need to do is learn how to access the technology that's already in us. And once we realize that who we are and what we are, and how we can apply these things, there's really nothing that would limit us. We just have to, remember.
Right. Well, I was kind of outlining in one of the descriptions we had about the quantum system, and how literally the quantum computing works. I went through kind of scenarios and was laying it out, all to draw a path for people to understand that literally you can access the quantum by thought. Because that's really what we're talking about, manifesting, right? So we're building tools like the D-Wave quantum computer, right? So we're building these tools so that we have a physical device, right? But at a certain point, you really don't need to have this physical device because it's actually is built already outside of the physical, and that's where it's built in quantum space. And it's organized in quantum space, and it can be accessed by way of thought. So these systems have already been placed since for how to even back at the time of the very early computer systems, like when you had the Atari game system, if you remember that. This system. The guy that developed the Atari went on to develop other X technologies, and one of those technologies was a way of controlling a computer by way of thought. Now you had to wear a ring, and that ring was basically communicating via some sort of radio frequency to the computer. But it would also pick up your thoughts and then translate it into the commands to the computer. And it was a simple training program as the one I was looking at. And it was literally, you just think about changing the screens in front of you. There's black on one side, white on the other, and you just flip them. So when you've learned to do that with your mind, you just think about flipping them and they flip, then it goes to 4 squares, and you flip them in different directions, and then it goes to a tic-tac-toe board, and you got to place the X and the O where you want them. So that was the extent of what I saw. That was in the 80s. So
That's amazing.
The technology that went into the military, and I know where it ended up is in heads-up displays for fighter pilots, so that they could target multiple things at one time just by thinking where to shoot.
Wow. I didn't realize that's what it was. That's pretty amazing.
So, and that was by the early 90s. Where it's gone from there, I have no idea. But to at the time that was just a ring. Why would you need a ring? Why couldn't there be something that was just receiving your information that you were thinking about?
Sure.
Right? So there's a way to get to the technology that sometimes people need to have the steps to get there before they can make the leap to think that, well, if I just think about, something, can I make it happen? Manifesting. It's we had talked a little bit earlier about us when we first had our first, contacted each other, and I said, well, I manifested you because 2 weeks prior to talking to you, I was talking with another friend of mine, and I said, I'd like to do, a broadcast based around QAnon. But my friend, he kind of had an opposing point of view about QAnon. He wasn't all on board as I am. And I said, but he didn't want to do it. But then I started talking to Tank, and then we ended up doing the show. And of course, you ended up filling that for me, right? So you were manifested. You just appeared into reality, just as I appeared into reality for you. You had someone else. Your seer, right? That said that someone else was coming.
Yeah, no, my energy, my energy worker. She was doing some energy clearing on me, and I asked the question. I'm like, is there something else I'm supposed to do? Here, not energetically, but here in the flesh, that allows this to happen? And she said yes. I said, okay, is it somebody who's currently in my network? Is it someone I'm supposed to work with? Ask all types of questions. They said it does have to do with somebody, and she said, but it's not somebody in your network. And then you reached out to me. So yeah, there's obviously the universe is on our side to bring these things to happen. So
right.
Dan and I will argue about this forever on who manifested who.
Well, I don't think it's a real argument. We manifest each other all the time. So but it's. I mean, the point is to be to take the opposite that viewpoint that who's manifesting who, and the reality is in this multiverse of manifestations, there's just it's a malleable timeline, and things are somewhat shifted. There's some theory that there's like 5 interwoven timelines that make up one, right? And at a certain point, that the way they come together, the way they're woven, gets so tight it's almost like a knot, right? That everything comes together at that one point in that moment across all of the timelines, and the black magic or the white magic or whatever you want to call what happened with 911 was, bringing all the timelines together. There was actually, I believe it's Princeton, has a kind of a sci-fi division. Sci-fi. It's a psychic and abnormal, telekinesis and all these
abnormal psychology.
Yeah. So that they have a division of that. One of their projects is they have random number generators that have been put around the world. And so a random number generator never really randomly generates numbers. they get keyed into things, and they literally, before 9/11 happened, started to synchronize to the point where they were repeating all the same numbers at the moment that when 9/11 happened. So it almost was like an event, like all the timelines were converging to that one point, and when they had that one point, they got everyone to focus on that one event. They created all of this other stuff to remove, like using the Patriot Act and all this, and allow this all to be slipped in across humanity. So this is what they did. What we did was we elected President Trump. I think ours. Right. I think what we did has much more power than what they did.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not the same spells and witchcraft they used, right?
No, not at all. But yeah, they're definitely
trance.
So theirs was an orchestrated, forced event, right? Using all of the means that they had available to create this, and we had let's say an awakening of humanity that pushed Trump into the position. It is a counterbalance, right, to what they did.
I agree.
It's the ripples that go out, even though they condensed all the timelines into one. And then the random number generators after that, they diverged. They were still in sync for a while, but they started to diverge and start doing different numbers. They were successful in their event, but it doesn't mean that they win just because they had success in doing one of their ops. So there's unintended consequences of any time. So, even when they talk about magic, there's always a price. That's also said in in Sabrina and all of these other things. Oh, if you use magic, there's always a price, because there's a price. And it comes in many forms. It's not just if you're affecting the world psyche on one level. They probably hurried up our movement, right? They because of what they did, caused what we're all doing right here, right now, to actually, gel and happen.
Yep. Well, I mean, they basically forced the choice, right?
Right.
If prior to this, no one even was searching to see if there was a choice. Right? We just thought, we're just doing what we have to do, and or what we with our limited options that we have, and now we have different options.
Well, part of being asleep, they're putting us to sleep, right, with everything they do, right? They're using technologies, they're using films, they're using the mainstream media, everything they do to make us in this lackadaisical kind of state of mind that we kind of just let things blow off of us, right? So we don't take action, we don't do anything. Also poisoning the food and the water makes us not very empowered, right? We're lacking energy to rise up. So all of this together, they're doing just to allow, when they make an event, allow them to move forward, right? But it also means that we can wake up and create something completely new. And that's
right.
And that's part of this. So the more they force in one direction, the more we have the capability of creating just as much more powerful than what they're doing for the good.
Right. That's why what they try to create. I remember I used to have this argument all the time with a guy I used to do calls with And he was always telling me to. He was always trying to encourage me to be neutral. You know, he's like, you're too emotional. You're too this. And I said, neutral. I'm like, neutral doesn't go anywhere. Neutral has no power, right?
Yeah, it's a purpose of neutral is just coast along. Let's let everything happen. Doesn't matter.
Right. And so I realized that's why, because what you're talking about, right? So if there is negativity, right? Well, what that does is it creates the opportunity for spin, right? Like you were talking about the black and the white.
Yeah.
You put them in the sun and they create spin.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same true here. You know, in reality, it's like, look, because the negativity has been so overwhelming, you know, if we want to get this thing moving, it requires, you know, the good side to stand up just as courageously, just as loud, you know, just as, you know, at least equal to what the negativity has done. You know what I mean? So, you know, we're doing all we can to overcome a monster. But even, you know, in discussion, I'd rather have somebody disagree with me, right, than someone who's just like, oh, okay, whatever. They don't have an opinion. Because apathy is the real enemy. Apathy and indifference is what gets us in trouble, because we just accept everything that's given to us. And we can't. You know, we should challenge things. And you know what, and do it intelligently and respectfully, right? Like, we can challenge these things and have a respectful conversation, you know, when, you know, and I think that's important. You know, and it's okay to have an opinion that's different. And we can talk and get to a better place. But in this road, if you want to get to a place where it's better for you, you also have to be open-minded to taking correction. Because if you can't take correction, somebody can prove you wrong with 1,000 different witnesses. And because you're not open to correction, because you know you're right, because you're holding on to your absolute truth, right? Like, no, I know this, I won't let go of this one thing. And that's all they have to do to lock you into a cave, right? To lock you in prison, is you have one thing that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is absolute. And if you have an absolute truth, they've got you. So you have to really consider everything you know could be wrong. Or not even wrong necessarily, but it could be a higher understanding on things.
That's a better way of putting it,
you know,
higher
that's why,
understanding.
You know, us doing,
yeah, you could have all the same. You could have all the same facts and have a different conclusion based upon knowing something at a higher level.
Yep.
Different perspective.
Well, I look at a lot of these really amazing kind of sovereign movement, kind of common law lawyer type of people that are just will boggle your mind, right? I mean, they'll put you to sleep with how much they know about these laws, right? And with how much they don't do because they won't participate in that system, and how they know everything, and they're almost always on the edge of their seat at all times. You know, it's not a comfortable way to live, right? Because you realize you're a slave, and they're conscious of it, and they've studied it, and they'll backtrack these things so far. The problem is it never goes high enough. You know, there's always, you have to, if you really want the truth, you got to get back to the source. Where did that start, though? You know, you have to figure out where is your power? Because if you get all the way there and you're sovereign, right? Like I know this guy, and he has his paperwork to show that he's sovereign, right? He has a sovereign trust, right? He has he basically is a monarch of the country of him, right? And he's had it recognized by the Catholic Church and by the government, right? And he has gone to extensive lengths. And his life is a living hell.
Yeah.
You know, he can't do anything. Like, you know, they target him all the time. They harass him with, you know, all types of different ways. And, you know, so what good does that is not the kind of sovereignty I want, right? You know, we have, if we want true sovereignty, then we're going to live here on this planet. Wouldn't we want to make sure that, you know, it's recognized by other forces that also see that we have sovereignty? You know, what good does it do? You know? So
no, you're correct. No,
we find ourselves in.
No, I've seen it too. I've seen many people. I know many close friends that were, patriot movement, right? Sovereignty movement, and you know, they have a great body of knowledge, but how do they make money, right? And if they had made money in the past, you know, they ended up it ends up disappearing, right? Because they're on this road. Because it ends up restricting you from being part of how the money is made in this world. Right? So
Right.
you end up down that road. So I've always recognized what the system is, and then played it as close to the line as I could, all the way down the line. Because I realized when I'm opening up an incorporated entity, I knew what I was doing, right? But I said that's the entity that pays tax. This is where everything goes through, and me as an individual man is not to make money, is not to have an income. So to realize how to walk that road and then make it happen, and you have to manage it as closely as you can, and sometimes I was more successful than others. So and mostly I was on the right side of things.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I was a teacher. I was in the corporate world. And I was in healthcare and things. But once they targeted me, once I started getting recruited, I started getting recruited by different groups. But I didn't even realize that's what was happening until later. But banks and CIA, and just various United Nations. But I didn't realize that's what was happening. But I kind of went the path of no income for a little while here. I've been on that path for a while, and believe me, it's not the way to go. It's not the way to go.
Well, yeah, I know. So when the system rebelled against me for talking about stuff with Swiss Indo, right? I had to convert. Okay, fine. Well, I'm not going to stop doing business. I just worked my way around the obstacles they put in place, and I went all 100% into crypto. Right? It's not their money.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no way that they can tax it. There's no way that they can always demonize it, which they were doing, but they've lost that. And of course, I understand that the tool that they're trying to use to create an alternative way of moving, creating money for themselves. But I still think this is a tool that is here to stay no matter what happens with the cabal side of things. And it has to be managed more along the lines that I was explaining to you before: open architecture, closed source, and then you can use it as a database to transfer assets. So anyway, it's just it's a technology. But anyway, but I had to maneuver my and work into a place of just doing crypto, right? Don't have a bank account. haven't for 5 years. So it's well, I'm unbanked. Like so many of the, just like I'm with the majority of the world.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So things like that, I look at this whole process. It's like it comes down to this for me. You can either decide and try to figure out how to fit into a system that is broken, or you can figure out how to change it. And I, like you, I went that path. How do we change it?
Yeah.
So, fortunately, mainly my method was to pick a fight with everybody. And, fortunately, that worked out. It worked out, and we're working with the right people, and wasn't exactly an easy path to get here. So, but I'm very excited to know that we have project funding that's coming in. We have some of the most brilliant minds in the world that are finally going to be allowed to blossom and bring this technology out. And that's exciting. That's exciting to me. So,
all right, so
that's the next step.
So are we want to take some more calls, or what do we want to do now?
Oh, do we have more calls?
I don't know.
Do we have somebody waiting?
I could look. As logged in over there.
I think everybody talked.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we chatted with all these people. They're just hanging with us. So I think
Okay.
we can wrap it up, man.
All right.
And we'll
Well, I guess this was much better than the last time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think we can use this, then it limits us to 2 hours, right?
Yep. Yep.
So.
Yeah, we're close. Yeah, just another 20 minutes to go on 2 hours. So we had an hour and a half earlier, and 2 hours here. So we're still 3.5 hours today. It's okay. We keep hitting it, keep putting it out there.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a few more people each time. They'll be chimed in, and hopefully our message will get better all the time. So, cool in the game, man. So, we're changing the world best we can. No retreat, no surrender. This is, I'll play us out, man, with my very dear friend Jarvis Smith and his band, the Phoenix Rose. And that's it. Dan, I'll talk to you tomorrow night. Everybody have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.